All right. Hello, everybody. So, my name is Martha Alter Hines, and I'm super happy, so excited to be here with Hope Fitzgerald. And many of you maybe probably are familiar with Hope through her own work and through her wonderful conversations with Pam Gregory, which is how I got to know who she is and what is happening in her world and in her work. And well, my guides told me very specifically to reach out to Hope because I think the because is for reasons beyond even what I can comprehend at this moment. But there has been so much enthusiasm about you. In my community, with my clients, I can't even count the number of people who have said to me, you really need to connect with Hope Fitzgerald. Her infinity wave has completely changed my life. And then they give me these examples of, being with a loved one and there's some terrible thing going on and they don't know what to do, but they just default to using the infinity wave, and then all of a sudden they don't even tell this other person that they're doing this, internally for themselves, and then all of a sudden their relationship is completely transformed and all these miracle kind of things happen, and it's like wow, wow, wow. Okay, so there, of course that really struck me, and then my guide said please reach out. But the other thing that I think is amazing and a little uncanny and probably not a coincidence is that I was guided to connect with you, and then the day we happened to choose to do this interview is June 9th, 2025, which is the day later, in just 3 or 4 hours from now, Jupiter is going to be entering Cancer. And when it is entering Cancer, it's also going to be squaring Saturn and Neptune, who have now entered Aries. They're at the very first 0 and 1 degree of Aries. And this whole configuration of Jupiter now entering Cancer and Saturn and Neptune together in the first degrees of Aries, all of it feels so is like it just speaks the infinity wave to me. It's like the structure of water, how we put the intention of the divine, Neptune, into form, Saturn, in the structure of water, right? Jupiter entering Cancer and Neptune all involved in all this. So it's just really exquisite the way that it's all coming together. And yeah, I think there's so much more beyond what I can even conceive of in this moment. And so yay, thank you so much, Hope, for being here. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, me too, me too. I love that context. It's really very exciting. And yeah, we just picked this date kind of randomly, but turns out not so much so.
Yeah, exactly. And then I won't, of course, divulge the details of your own astrology chart, but I just felt this nudge to ask if it would be okay for me to look at it, because I had this feeling it's like that there's some connection between your own astrology chart and this Jupiter entering Cancer and then the Saturn Neptune squaring that. And yes, it turns out that your chart is just all over the place, kind of screaming infinity wave. It's like wow. I mean, yeah, so beautiful. It's just you're obviously designed to bring this through into the world, among many other things. But yeah, really confirmed a lot.
Well, it's really nice for me to hear that confirmation, and to be, from a different voice to hear, oh yes, you're set up for this. This is what should be. And I love what you said about the spiritual coming into form,
Mm,
and that's what our little wave here. It's exactly what it is. It's beautiful to think of it that way. So I appreciate your thoughts on that.
wonderful. Yeah. So, I mean, again, most people who are hearing this probably have already heard your talks with Pam Gregory. But if for those people who haven't, first of all, go and find those on Pam's channel, and they're wonderful, and go enjoy those. But for people who haven't, I would love to start with just a mini context of what is the infinity wave, how did this occur, and then I think most of what we're going to do in this interview, which is a little different from what you've done with Pam, is then to really experience it and to really feel it, and talk about how we can use this on a practical level, and which you also outline in your book, and all these things. But I would love to start with just what is the infinity wave? How did this come into being? Go
Well,
for
I
it.
think it's easier to give a bit of a how it came into being and how I discovered what it is, because it just we're all when we step on the fool's journey, we don't know anything, and that's certainly what it was for me. So I'd just to quickly summarize. I'd had a very, very challenging year in 2010. I went to sound healing workshops to be able to sort of clean myself out, rewrite, or actually give myself a blank slate. I came home feeling delightfully empty. I had my dear friend over to tell her about my sound healing retreat. And I'm walking across my living room, and all of a sudden in front of me is a giant, massive wave, much bigger than the one behind. And I'm looking up this wave, and I'm stock still, shocked. And there seems to be kind of a byline that goes underneath it, and it says, paraphrasing, "This wave represents a push of evolution that is coming to the planet. It will be wrapping around the Earth and anchoring in at the end of 2011. If you learn to swim with it or surf it, things will go better for you than if you resist." Next thing I know, the wave turns on its side. Now it's got this letter C kind of curling, where you'd expect some kind of surfer dude to come through. And with this, the byline was, as the wave, as the water pulls away from the shore and deepens into the seabed to create the crest, which is the physics of a wave. So should you leave all your book learning on the shore, go to the earth, go to the wisdom keepers of the earth for your knowledge, and then mix that with this incoming, whatever this push of wave was. And then that letter C, that curling wave, didn't just fall down into the water, but it turned into this standing up, a figure eight made of flowing water that like that. And that was about 18 inches high and about 18 inches off my forehead. And there was no explanation. And it didn't go away. And so I walked around for 3 days, and it's kind of opaque. I'd never had visions. I didn't know, and I'm sure they're different for different people. But for me, this figure eight was kind of opaque, and I didn't see it all the time, but then I'd become aware of it. And, it got to be a little annoying, to tell you the truth. So I sat down with my dowsing rods. And at that point, I've been dowsing for 18 years or so. And I just started to ask a slew of questions. And over the course of several sessions, I came to understand that this figure eight of flowing water basically is a representation of something much bigger, much like any symbol, cross, whatever, is a symbol for something much bigger. And the much bigger was a gift from a loving universe of a very high frequency of love and compassion.
Mm.
Now, I later investigated, was told looks like 10th dimensional love and compassion, which kind of makes sense, because if we were to identify what Yeshua brought in and other teachers of the day, that was seventh dimensional love and compassion. And where we are now is requiring something stronger, something faster, something that can't be corrupted. And that's why it's just a symbol and can be used just in the way that it's presented. So so I thought, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So why am I seeing this? And they said, well, you need to go and teach it to the world. I was like, oh no, no, that's not, oh no. Thing is, when you're a spiritual seeker, which I had been really since I was 9, and I'd studied lots of different things, gone down lots of rabbit holes, learned healing, learned this, learned that, you name it. I was very used to being a student. And the reason I'm telling this part of the story is that sometimes we really need a strong foot in the back to push us out of our comfort zone and into what turns out to be a calling. And I had no idea at that time that I had a calling in this way. I was very happy being in the back of the room meditating or whatever. So, no, it turns out I had written this into my plan. And I had to start putting together workshops. I dowsed for what I was supposed to do. So this was November 2010. I gave my first workshop at the end of January 2011.
Mm.
Now, you can be sure that I went straight to the internet and searched for infinity signs, and there were none except for mathematical, the lemniscate. Nobody had it in their logo. Nobody had it in their packaging. Nobody was using it in jewelry. And I knew, given the collective, I can't be the only one receiving this. So I was scratching my head for the entire year. And I gave several workshops. I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I literally was walking blind. And the point of it all is, and this is really an important piece for everybody, because a lot of people like me at that time, I had a lot of beliefs. I had tons of books. I listened to tons of teachers. I'd done tons of practices, but in my heart of hearts, I yearned to move from believing to knowing. And when I say
Mm.
knowing, I mean gnosis. And with my feet, my toes over the cliff edge, right? Believing is when you still have your feet on the cliff. You only get to gnosis when you fall over, when you leap off that cliff, because that's the only time when you know you're going to experience that you will be caught, that the universe will catch you, and that it's a completely different gear to start working with spirit in that way, where you're relying heavily on every single thing to be guided, to have the right words, to have the right everything for the moment. And that's the state that I had to enter in order to do those workshops. And as a result, I started channeling through these practices, and turns out they were exactly all 9 of them. It was spread over the course of 3 months, 1 weekend a month was the first workshop, and people did experience incredible evolutionary shifts. As we learned about the wave along the way, I was building the plane as I was flying, but I wasn't alone. And I can't tell you the difference between being my own little engine, chug, chug, chug up the hill, and really relying on a partnership with Source. And that was the beginning of the journey. So in its most simple form, the wave is 10th dimensional love and compassion. You can even drop the 10th dimensional and just say it's love and compassion at the highest levels. We're not used to experiencing that here in 3D. But what can happen, what does happen, and why all these magical things happen, is that it's a quantum energy. And in the way that our thoughts create matter, our thoughts are, when we use the infinity wave as our mechanism, we're overlaying the situation in 3D with a 10th dimensional love and compassion, and it causes everything to rise to its highest and best level. We don't have to say at what level it is. Oh, is that 4D, 5D? We don't need all of that. No, don't cloud the brain with all that stuff. Just know that it is going to have an uplifting effect. And often, often, I can't tell you how often, what I would have thought of in my own little mind as an optimal situation gets bypassed because the wave opens the door to, oh, I never thought it could be that good,
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I don't even use intention anymore, because intention is just me. It's Hope's idea of what might work. When we
Yes.
use the wave, it opens it for me to be surprised again and again and again in the most lovely way. And so anyway, I think that kind of explains how it came and what it is. And by the way, I will say this. In January 2012, literally the first week of January, I ordered a cappuccino, and in the foam, somebody had drawn the infinity, and I went, the game is on. Here we go. And literally 2 years later, it was the most popular tattoo for women. And obviously now it's in everybody's logo. They don't know why. So,
Amazing.
it's funny and it's wonderful. And yeah, so
That's incredible. Yeah, and I've talked about this in other videos, so I won't talk about it here. But yes, 2011 and 2012 was a massive moment for me as well in my own personal life. And then, this one of that's one of the key times when this humongous spiritual opening happened for me personally in my own experience of life. Um, yeah, and of course it lines up with the Mayan calendar timing of things and da, 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 da.
yes,
It's amazing,
it
really.
is, right? It is. And the idea is that we don't have the luxury of time
Yeah.
as we've had in the past. We can't go to a cave for 3 months or 3 years, and we need something that's going to work quickly and efficiently, really, at every moment of our day. So it's an upgrade. And when you think about it, the symbol of Christianity, I'm just talking about that one religion now, but it was the fish. And so this is kind of the finishing off of the
Mm,
tale.
mm,
If you think about it, that was the fish, and
mm,
that finishes it off. So
mm.
it's the evolution. I see it as the evolution of the basic tenets of that religion and many other religions and philosophies. So it's not only there, but makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm just curious. You don't need to have an answer to this. It doesn't it's not good or bad either way. But I'm just curious, do you have a sense of who or what it is that has brought this through for you?
Well, I'm just going to skip back to when I stood kind of nervously with my um, homemade wire hanger dowsing rods in what year was that? 1993 or four. And I asked a question of my little brand new rods that I just made, right? And they moved. And I went, oh my gosh, I'd used
Yeah.
pendulums before, but I'd never used rods. And I after asking some silly questions, is my hair blue or whatever, um, or is my name Jane or whatever, silly things. I then started to wonder, well, who is speaking? What's speaking through me? We all wonder that.
Mhm.
But very quickly, I decided to put that question aside and instead test it. So if they told me to go to the grocery store on Wednesday, is not Thursday, I went on Wednesday. And now I'm signaling to whoever, whatever, I'm listening, I'm playing along. And so then as the questions got more and more risky, I had built up some kind of trust level and relationship, but I decided not to label who it was or what it was because I thought it'd be really easy for me to get attached
Yeah.
to that, and I felt that would be limiting. So I didn't know for decades.
Mhm.
And then I think it was 2014, a friend of mine introduced me to a board that is called the Divine Message Board. It looks, if you had a quick glance, you'd say, oh, that's a Ouija board. But then you look more closely, you see that the symbols are high vibing, and Merlin is featured in one corner because she channeled Merlin and Merlin told her how to build this thing. And
Yes.
she came to my house, and I got a board, and that's when I figured out, they told me who was talking to me. But I always had this sense that there was a revolving door, that
Mm.
whatever being was going to be the expert on that topic
Yeah.
would come and speak, and then it would change. So I was introduced to a whole slew of characters and beings, some of which we would call the Holy Family. I am not Catholic. I was not raised with relationships with those people, I thought. But Yeshua and Mary Magdalene feature very strongly. And then I have my master guide is an entity called M, which is really which is the universe behind the universe. And
Mm,
then I've got archangels of all sorts, and it's just a big group and some surprising folks. But again, it's really a trick to not get attached. These are named, but they're energies.
yeah,
Right. So we want to put it, we human beings love to label, put it in a box. Now I understand that. That's not how it is. So even when I say these names, I'm speaking of energies that
yeah.
seem to have a voice, a particular voice. Uh, yeah. And so there you can't get attached to an energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I very much relate. I also channel kinda infinite benevolent beings, I guess is the way I would put it. And sometimes they show me, well, I would say most of the time they come in a very specific form and I have a sense of, "Oh, this is a unicorn," or "This is a" whatever it is, but they always say, "I am speaking through Martha in the vibration of the energetic of" what you
Oh, there
might
you go.
call
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
That's it. That's it.
yeah.
The
Um,
Hathors, yeah, I get the Hathors. I get
mhm,
Gaia sometimes comes
mm,
through.
yeah,
And you know that we just when we're as open and as unattached as we can possibly be is when the purest messages come through,
mm,
right?
yeah,
So it's our that's part of our job, right?
yeah, yeah. No, anyway, yes, beautiful, absolutely perfect. And the main reason I was curious was because this whole theme lines up so possibly with a lot of Syrian energetics that I've been feeling lately, and Sirius does feature pretty prominently in your chart. And so I was just curious if that's been a factor for you or
You
not, or
know, I've only communicated with one extraterrestrial, whatever, galactic being. And interestingly, it's the only being that I've communicated with who's embodied alive.
Mm,
It's funny, right? Because everybody else is not here anymore. But I am curious about this. I feel like there is an opening coming, partly because of what I just did in Sedona and Shasta, really opening and using the wave as the rocket
mhm,
to up level ourselves so we can have communication,
yeah.
and that everybody can do it just in their backyards at night or during the day.
Mhm,
I was just somewhere last week. I went outside to wait for a friend and I sat down and I've been programming myself to look up more often.
mm,
And I look up and I see a little cylinder uh, traveling at relatively low levels pretty quickly right over my head. And I went, "Oh, there are no wings on that thing. With the naked eye, I could see it. There are no wings on that." Got my phone out. By the time I took a picture, it just looks like a glowing orb.
mm,
But and the next picture, you take several at a time, it was gone.
mm,
So it must have been phasing out, and I got it just as it was phasing out. But so I haven't had that kind of flyby, on a regular basis. Or maybe I have, but I haven't looked up. But I
mm,
feel like this is incoming. Something's coming
mhm,
that way, and
yeah.
maybe it is Syrian.
I don't know. Yeah, you have other stars that I can tell you when we're not recording. You do have a lot of other stars that feature very prominently in your chart too. But yeah, that's a big part of what I do is channel star beings, channel that I hold a star course, and that's part of what we do in the star course is connect with these beings, but not so much in the literal like seeing a spaceship kind of a thing, but yeah, there's just so many different ways, right? There's no one answer. And I love, maybe we can now transition to the actual experience of the infinity wave because I can just feel it intuitively how I'm guessing the infinity wave can among many other ways it can be so supportive. I can feel how maybe it would help us in our like strengthen just that it feels very strengthening somehow or something to strengthen our ability to be in our own wholeness and then therefore be able to connect with infinite other beings. Again, each of us has such different ways of doing that, but yeah, anyway, I would love to do you feel like transitioning now to actually
Yeah,
experiencing?
let me give a little, a couple of examples of how to use it, and that there are two tracks. Okay,
Yes.
so the infinity wave can be used on a daily basis. I call it the daily wave. It can be used to within one's own body. Now, the wave can be any size, right? It can be any color, and the water can be flowing at any pace.
Mm,
So if you wanted to run it from your crown across your body, under your feet, and back up like that, I call that the cradle. And it just brings a automatic sense of peace. And you just use your imagination as you would for anything. You use your imagination all the time. You just imagine, a trickle of lovely stream of water. And what starts to happen is it's basically structuring the physical water and our emotional waters as we do that. We're delivering that love and compassion. The geometry of it is very important, and the water is very important. A lot of people come to me and say, "Oh, I've been doing the infinity wave for years and years." I'm like, "No, you haven't. You've been doing using the geometry, which is amazing and already healing. It's the combination of the water that
mm,
makes it the infinity wave." So there is a distinction there. So you can use it in your body. You can shrink it up if you have pain somewhere. You can use it to communicate. And for that, I like to put one end of the figure eight loop in my heart and then run it to your heart. And the other end of the loop is in your heart. So we make an eight between us. And because it's quantum, it travels through space and time. It's immediate. And if you and I just do that right now what starts to happen is I start to rock because I'm moving with the wave. It just
mm.
happens naturally. And that's how I know we're connected. The love and compassion that I am just letting the wave carry to you is coming back to me and vice versa. No effort. The wave does it all by itself. I don't
Wow.
have to feel love. I don't have to feel compassion. Because look, a lot of times when I start to use this wave with someone, it's not in a pleasant situation like this. It's when there's a problem.
And this specific what you're describing here is where I've heard so many people report like these miracle changes, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, keep going, keep going. Mhm.
Yes. So because you allow the wave to lift the situation to its highest and best. And if so, let's say I'm in traffic and I'm late and I'm starting to get, what we all get when that situation appears. I wave the traffic. I do a mile of waving. I could go out. Well, first person who's affected by it is me.
Mhm.
I calm down. I stay in a balanced, aligned state. I stay in a neutral state, and the traffic starts to move.
So can I just ask a question? So if like to get very, very literal, right? I'm just imagining myself sitting there in traffic and getting really annoyed, which certainly happens. So you would imagine it. Can you describe it a little more in detail? How exactly you would?
Yeah, I would just, imagine it somewhere in my body or in my car, and I would put one end of the loop here, and then I just stretch it way out as far as that I can see wherever the traffic is, and just see it, just let it run.
Let the water itself just do this infinity
Yes.
dance through
Yes.
all the cars, through the whole anything and everything that
Exactly. I
mm,
mean, the beautiful thing about it, it's a kind of prayer, it's a kind of blessing,
mhm.
right? Everybody's going to benefit, but who benefits most? Me.
Yeah.
Not that I'm doing it for selfish reasons at all, but I calm down. I stay. This is the key for everything I'm doing. We are here as beacons. We chose to be here to be beacons.
Yeah.
It does not serve my beaconness, if it isn't a word, but keeping my light bright for me to get annoyed by things like that.
Yeah.
I need to maintain my state, and the wave helps me do that.
Mhm.
And when I maintain that beaconhood, and again, I don't think that's a word, but when I maintain my beaconhood, it benefits everybody around me because we know we're connected to everything. And the ripple effect from me maintaining that, assiduously is going to benefit everyone. So it helps me to stay in service in that way. So it's not just for my own benefit, which is important, I need to maintain that, but it's my lighthouse is going to help others. Same for everybody. This is, I feel, one of the most important reasons that the wave came in is to help us maintain the state with all the chaos that's around us, with
I can,
all the change, with all the things that are disconcerting. How do we maintain our light?
yeah. I mean, I'm feeling it so powerfully right now. A couple of things that stick out for me about it. Number one, it feels so relieving and so key and important that it's not us in charge. It's the
Right.
wave itself. It's the divine, maybe you could say, the divine itself, the wave itself, the water itself doing. We aren't doing anything, right? So we can just let go and basically let ourselves be taken care of. But it's our intention. The only thing we have to do is set the intention for it to occur, right? And set our intention that that's where our consciousness, we allow our consciousness to focus on that as opposed
Well, I think of it more as an invitation,
to, mm,
right? We just invite it into play. Come on,
nice.
and the wave, the wave is an intelligent force. It's that it knows better what is needed. Maybe we need to sit in traffic for a minute. Maybe we need that slow down. Maybe we're going to get a call in a second that we need to pay attention to, and if we were driving, it might be dangerous. Yeah, we don't know, but it is intelligent, and so it knows. So we just invite it. And the thing is, so I encourage people to print out the wave from my website or whatever. Print it out, put it on your bathroom mirror, put it in your car, put it in your kitchen, whatever, put it around, because it'll help to remind you to just invite. And once it's in, you're going to be more and more in wave energy all the time.
Mm,
I
amazing.
mean, I just had a series of situations that really were impossible, and yet they happened. And I don't take the credit. I'm just like, I'm blessing the wave. I'm like, I know, I got to be in flow for that. Wow, that was really amazing. Wow, thank you. And
Like literally in flow, literally in
yes,
flow.
literally in
Yeah.
flow. Yes. So it is a beautiful state to be in. And I've really come to realize that being in a state of flow equals being in love and compassion, and being in love and compassion equals being in a state of flow. They are the same thing.
Mhm.
And so the wave is our little tool, our massive tool it's something little to imagine and to remember to invite, but it will have a huge impact on our lives.
Yeah. I can feel it changing me right this minute as we're talking. Like literally change. I can
Yeah,
feel it in my own heart. Like
yeah,
it's a medicine that my heart needs actually. Because I think another key thing for so many of us, like I'm sure you and I know me, and I basically 99.999, maybe 100% of the people watching this video, we are empaths, right? We're incredibly empathetic. We are incredibly sensitive. We pick up on, we really care. That's why we're here. That's why we've incarnated, because we really love. We love. We are love. So speaking for myself, but I think all of us would probably say we get very, very, very upset when we see the suffering of the planet, or we whatever it is, and we can feel things so intensely. So I think our hearts often can, again, take on this sense of, what does it mean to be compassionate, or what does it mean to have empathy? It can become like a sense of responsibility and guilt, that if we don't constantly turn on that compassion part of us, that we're doing something wrong, or whatever it is. And so again, a big part of what's coming through in the things I've been channeling lately is the need for us to really nurture our own heart. And that's a whole topic, but also it feels so important to, on the one hand, take radical responsibility for our own self, but also in another way to release a sense of responsibility, like
Yes,
to have discernment of where are we responsible and where are we not. you know
yes,
I feel
yes.
I feel like the infinity wave, I can just feel it literally in my own self. Like, this is a key tool for me to, wow, this is not all on my shoulders. Like, this is not on any one of our shoulders. And it's the divine, it's this that knows the way, right? A lot
Mhm.
of what comes through me is the beings channeling the light knows the way. But I can feel how it's also the infinity wave knows the way. It's not, not only the light, it's there. We have
Right.
so many of these allies and versions of how the divine manifests.
Yeah. And the water aspect of this is so key. I went down the water rabbit hole, because I was asking, well, why is it water and not something else? And that's when I just, dove into Dr. Emoto's work, and I I started to fall in love with water. I mean, literally fall in love with water. And
Wow.
because I came to understand that it has an incredible consciousness, not just through Dr. Emoto's work, but I would walk when I was in Florida for a period of time, and I would walk on the beach and I would ask these massive, questions. Uh, asking the universe, is it this? Is it that? And every time that there was a yes answer, or 'cause a wave would come way up and cover my feet. And then it was way down there, and I go, and then it come way every time I ask one of these, foundational questions, like, big universal questions, and I realized, oh, the ocean is communicating with me. Oh
Wow.
my gosh. And so I would wave the ocean. Ah, ah, it's
And I
like,
live I live 15-minute walking distance to the ocean, so I'm gonna try that now. Wow.
oh, you hang on to a rock because
Ah.
you might. I waved Niagara Falls and I practically fell off the boat. So powerful, pulled me right over to the edge of the boat.
No. Uh-oh.
My husband's like, "Come back here."
Yeah, be careful. Yeah. Do it
Anyway,
carefully.
um,
Wow.
no water. Dr. Emoto didn't. He came this close in his books to saying water is God.
Mm.
But I heard him in an interview shortly before he died, and he actually said it. And I'm like, yes,
Wow.
yes, there is something about it. And I'm still exploring, but Veda Austin's work has really, catapulted that, and it's so exciting. But yeah, so the water is important in ways that I still don't yet understand fully. There's more to it than what I'm saying here, but it's still unfolding, and it's absolutely beautiful. Aside from all the things that water represents, moving boulders, or path of least resistance, or cleansing, it goes on and on and on. That sense of relief that you're talking about is part of that. And I agree with you. I mean, early on, I had this. I remember one day, oh God, something happened in the world, and I was just brokenhearted, heavy hearted. And
Yeah.
I said to my guides, I said, how am I supposed to be teaching this thing in my rural, northwestern Massachusetts next to a sheep farm? Like, I'm supposed to, how can I do that when I feel so bad for what's happening here or there or the other? And I'm saying this story because of what you said, and I think it's so important. And I felt I never would have thought of it myself, the message that came back was, do that which pleases you
Mm.
in the moment. So it was summertime. My garden needed weeding. I was so busy with other things, but I went out in the garden in the sun and I started, just sat there with the bees and the flowers. And I just relieved myself of that responsibility. And I was there for half an hour. I felt so much better and I was able to go back to work. So that permission, when you start to feel that heavy feeling of responsibility, do that which pleases you. It might be cleaning the bathtub. I don't know what it is for each person in that particular moment, but give yourself that permission to do that because none of us is meant to carry the weight of all of it. And
Yes.
we're not, that doesn't fuel our light.
No, and, yeah, I've talked about this also in other videos, so I won't go on and on, but so my original career was as a clinical social worker, a psychotherapist, and I specialized in trauma and worked with families and
Uh,
children in the child welfare system, et cetera. Okay. So I did my graduate degree right near where you live. And yeah. So so what we know from the psychotherapeutic world, right, is that the neurobiology tells us that if we go into that fight or flight mode, then what happens? Well, our brain, most of our brain shuts down, our body shuts down. We go to our hindbrain, we go to our survival skills, and the parts of us, a huge part of us shuts off, which includes our ability to do broad picture thinking, to come up with
mhm,
new ideas, to
mhm,
be in empathy, to all we basically need our body to be in the parasympathetic nervous system functioning in order for us to really truly be of service, like to come up with the solutions our world needs, et cetera, right? So we're actually, it's very paradoxical because I think a lot of us do have this default that we feel guilty if we're not in fear or we're not in a reactive,
uh-huh,
but it's actually detrimental to our
uh-huh.
ability to help if we stay in that mode. So
Exactly.
yeah, like I often think of
Exactly.
like an emergency room, if you had a like an ER doctor or an ER nurse in fight or fight mode all the time, you would not want them to be helping you, right? You would that would not that would not be a good picture. And I've worked in emergency situations a lot in my past career. So we know that what does the world need of us? Like I'm not going to deny that we're in a crisis moment in lots and lots and lots of ways we are. But if we really come down even to the science of how can we truly be of service, unless we're running from a bear, like literally in an emergency situation, turning on that fight or flight mode doesn't help. And so I feel like this infinity wave is, again, it's such a powerful tool to help us come out of the fight or flight mode and calm, literally
Yes.
calm our nervous system,
Yeah.
nourish our nervous system. Like it's such a Jupiter and Cancer thing. It's just so perfect. Wow.
Yeah, and despair, the same, despair, you can't help from a place of despair.
Yeah.
So I think the infinity wave really helps build resilience,
Yeah.
which is what we're talking about. Resilience to be able to stand in whatever's happening, to bend, to have the flexibility to bend to a given situation, but the resilience to come back to some kind of center and a stasis. And if the stasis is flowing love and compassion, geez, that's pretty good.
Mhm.
That's pretty good. So do you want me to do a quick little meditation to just a little practice to embody the wave?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just close our eyes and settle in and take a deep breath. And I like to imagine that we have a pranic tube running from our head down our crown down through our sacrum, just a hollow tube. So we start out breathing from the heart center, exhaling down through the tube that then goes down into the earth, exhaling down and inhaling back from the earth up into the heart center whatever you imagine that the earth has for you. And the exhales take a leaving of anything that doesn't serve you on the breath, just letting whatever doesn't serve down into the earth, and then breathing back up from the heart center to the heart center, the gifts from Gaia. And just do this for a few moments. And, the beautiful thing about this is that Gaia can transform, transmute whatever we deliver unto her into something much more beautiful and useful. I'm just trusting her capacity to do that. She wants us to do that. So these deep exhalations down and bringing back up into the heart are very healthy. And now we're going to switch the focus. And this time we're going to exhale from the heart center up through the crown like a fountain, expanding out in all directions and breathing back into the heart center, the gifts from that realm. Whatever you imagine exists around, above you all the time. Breathing that back into your heart center and just continuing to do this. And each time you exhale, you expand your field just a little more, your toric field, and you feed your heart with whatever you imagine the unseen realms have for you. All right, and after that, we're going to do something a little tricky. Breathe from above and below into your heart center. So inhale from above and below, and exhale out in both directions. And at first, it's a little challenging to get this gymnastics, breathing. But after a while, it becomes very easy. And what starts to happen is both realms are blending in your pranic tube. So now you feel the connection between above and below within your own body, within your own heart. And you can start to understand the blueprint that we humans are, in that we are equal parts earth and the above realms. And we are the ones in the center. We are the ones who can affect change through listening to the messages from those different equally spiritual realms. Okay, so now that we have our alignment set up, imagine that floating in your heart center is a little figure eight of flowing water. And you can use your finger to trace a little figure eight if you like. Sometimes people have a hard time imagining. If tracing that with your finger helps, go ahead and do that. Now, you may just observe this figure eight of flowing water, this infinity wave. Just notice what size it is, what color it is, and how quickly the water is flowing. And as you observe it, you may notice there's a little sensation in your heart center. Maybe a little softening or a little bit of a rhythm going, or maybe not. Just observe it there. And now what we'd like to do is, as you inhale, begin to let that figure eight stretch a little bit bigger, like inflating two balloons, orienting this infinity wave east-west, one loop pointing towards the left rib cage, one to the right rib cage. And you may notice as you breathe in and slowly start to stretch those loops, you might feel a little tugging in your heart center, a little even constraint, because our hearts are so protected due to all the things that are happening in our personal lives and then on the world scale. The heart tends to contract Let the infinity wave do the work of opening it. You might want to increase the flow of the water and let the water do the work. And as you invite the wave to really work in your heart center, it will become relaxed. As you take a little more breath and extend those loops even farther, just remember that inherent in that watery flow is 10th dimensional compassion, high, high levels of compassion, compassion for you specifically, because you are seeing compassion for your choice to come here, for your wins, for your losses, for your failures, for your successes, for all of it. Taking another deep breath, opening just a little wider. Remembering that inherent in the water as well is this high, high frequency of love. Love specifically for you. Love for the way you love. Love for your capacity to care. Love for all the ways you embody this frequency and have for so long. As we widen the heart across the chest, it may feel extremely vulnerable, like we're not used to being that open. But just know you are protected in this place, in this space, by the love and compassion, the infinite love and compassion of the infinity wave. It's a safe place to be so open. And you can just sit in that frequency, that openness, that peacefulness for as long as you like. If you desire to shrink the wave back a bit for your daily life, you may. You may put it wherever you wish. But just know that it is now embedded in your being and will always be at your beck and call. So when you are ready, you can reopen your eyes and come back. Yeah, very happy to deliver that for your beautiful folks.
Mm.
I, I have the sincerest wish that it has the intended effect on everyone.
Well, I am feeling it for sure. So, yes, as you said before, we started recording, once you do this exercise, it's a little hard to speak. So
Exactly.
that's where I am. Yeah. But for the interest of practicality here before we close, I would love for you to share anything else you feel called to say, but also, please tell us about what how we can find out more. And you have your book, you're going to be teaching a course through the Shift Network starting in August, you said. You have tell us anything you want people to know. Yeah.
Sure. First of all, I do something every Monday night. I'm on the East Coast, so it's 7:30 every Monday night. And if you just go ahead and sign up to my website, you'll get a Sunday newsletter blog that I write every week and an invitation on Monday for whatever the nightly thing is. But I always have the schedule posted on every communication. I also interview somebody every month. I have an infinite wisdom guest, of which I hope you will be one in the future. And I have a couple of other things. Those are my regular things. Then, as you say, I'm going to be bringing forth an Infinity Wave class for online for the Shift Network starting August 18th, and I'm really, really excited about it. Uh, really excited. So that's one thing. I'm also developing an online dowsing course because so many people have asked me about how to douse. That's going to be released this summer, also in August. I'm going to be very busy. um, and then in September, I have a retreat that I'm planning with my dear friend Jan, Dr. Jan Seward, and we are going to be doing it here in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, 3 days, September 7th through 10th, at the beautiful Miraval Spa. Stay tuned on that one. I'm creating the webpage this week. I'm also hoping to do a workshop first weekend of March in Florence, Italy.
Mm.
So those are some upcoming events. And I have another body of work that I'll just give the two websites. So my website is spreadinfinitehope.com. And the other website is you-awake.com. And that's a body of work that I create with my dear friend and collaborator, Carrie Malkin. So that you can check that out. And we have our own offerings at different times. So I think that's about it for the moment. But so happy to be here with you, Martha, and be with your beautiful tribe. And I look forward to more interactions in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we're percolating on a possible joint live thing. Anyway, I'll table that. It's another thing to sort of for people to keep an eye out about, an ear open for. Yeah, but anyway, I have a feeling that we will collaborate a lot more over time in various ways, and I think we're both very committed to community and to bringing together multiple voices and multiple pieces of this divine puzzle that we're all a part of, and we're all needed, each in our own ways, and
Right.
yeah, mm, so great. I can just feel I really literally can feel this changing myself and changing my life, so thank you so, so, so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a real joy to do this.
Wonderful. And we would love to hear your thoughts, your feelings. If you have worked with the Infinity Wave and you have amazing testimonials, please share them on this video. And yeah, and if you have experiences just from even this experience right here, please share that as well. And wonderful. Thank you all for being here. See you soon.